Hi Team Eco fans, my name is Logan. I run the Tumblr blog Lands of Light and Dark, which is a Team Eco fan blog mostly focused on The Last Guardian at this point. It used to be called Soon Soon in anticipation of the game's re-announcement, which has happened. So, of course, I recorded a demo analysis video for the demo for The Last Guardian that was shown at E3. Everything after this little intro segment was recorded only a day or two after the E3 press conference, and the quality's not super great. The audio quality isn't great. There's a lot of background noise, and my voice tends to be kind of quiet in the video. But it's all recorded, and I wanted to get it uploaded because I do think there is some merit to be found in there. I really had a lot to say about it, even some things that weren't super interesting, and I just really wanted to get that all down in a video. Since I recorded the video, other stuff's come up, but you know that's just the way it is. So I hope you like the video, and I'm just gonna let it go without any further ado. So right at the start here, we see Sony Computer Entertainment, blah blah blah, all the great logos, the stuff that I would see in other trailers, and I would think, oh, is this The Last Guardian at the other E3s? And it never would be. Now it is. Japan Studio, and we have something called Gen Design. This is Fumito Ueda's new studio that is formed up of a lot of old members of Team Eco. They are still working on The Last Guardian. They have been working on The Last Guardian, contrary to the belief that Ueda was not working on the game much anymore. And apparently the game doesn't really seem to have been outsourced much, which was also something a lot of people believed might have happened. The logo here is obviously very evocative of Eco, even though the kid doesn't have horns. So right here, this was the part where the tears started coming for me. And there were tears, I can tell you that. I've been waiting for a long time, as I'm sure many of you have as well. Right off the bat, we come out into this huge, huge castle area. And to start off, I really want to talk about the look of the game. So, a lot of people say that the graphics look exactly the same as they did when the game was shown off in 2009. And I'm going to agree for the most part. I think they may be a little better. I really like the way that grass moves. And everything is extremely detailed, maybe more detailed than before, but for the most part, it looks the same. And that's been a general thing with the new footage, is that it looks the same as it was before. A lot of people were worried that the game would be something new, something different. People thought they might change the naming even. People didn't know what to expect. But we've got something that looks the same. A lot of people are using that as an excuse to be worried again that perhaps the game won't live up to the hype. Personally, I do not care. It looks like The Last Guardian, and that's what matters to me. So now we get to look around this castle area, and boy is it huge. We saw large castle areas in the other trailers, mostly a large area of completely ruined just castles or whatever buildings. It was hard to even tell what they were so ruined. This is something much more robust and huge and vertical than what we've seen in the past. There are two very large pillars right across from the boy. There are a lot of structures in the background that resemble those seen on the cover of Eco and in that game at one point, where they're sort of these strange crisscross sort of pillars, vertical constructions in the background. They're on the roofs of these towers. There's a very tall tower pillar there in the back, and far, far, far out you can see something that is even huger. And you know, it doesn't look like a natural structure. You can see how it flares up at the top of there and gets larger. I think that might be another part of the castle, and man, is that high up. Everything's so detailed. I love the way he runs up those stairs. And we get to hear him calling for Trico. I'm not sure if we had a chance to hear that before now. I don't think we did. Trico comes out, and we immediately get a glimpse at some of the great destruction physics that are showcased later on in the demo. Right here in the distance, you can see these three structures that are placed right next to each other. They look very similar to each other. I don't know what those are. Above those, we can see a very tall spire. I honestly can't tell if it's horizontal or vertical, but I'm thinking vertical. If it's horizontal, maybe we'll get to fly from it at some point. That might be cool. Behind this, there are cliffs. In a lot of the earlier screenshots and videos of the game, you could see cliffs much more than you do in this footage. There were cliffs all around. Now, the castles are obscuring a lot of that stone. Trico looks great as usual. He's obviously pretty friendly with the boy at this point. In the beginning of the game, Trico is apparently not very friendly, and he warms up to you as the game goes on. Speaking of Trico not being very friendly, Shuhei Yoshida confirmed that this demo was not live because they weren't so sure if Trico would act the way they wanted him to if they played the game live. Let's talk about the way Trico looks. Trico's design is mostly the same. One very notable thing about his design is the horns that glow blue. Those were not in the original 2009 trailer, but those were in small clips and screenshots of the game that were released in 2010, including a lot of screenshots on the game's website in 2010, or perhaps it was early 2011. The blue glow is obviously indicative of magical power. In the Team Ico series, not necessarily good magical power, not necessarily bad magical power, just magical power. So Trico is a magical creature, as if you couldn't tell by the fact that he is a giant bird dog thing. I believe the only completely new elements of his design in this footage are the fact that his ears are blue in the back, and the fact that he has whiskers. I don't recall his whiskers being that long, if he had them at all before. He looks slightly slimmer, but I think that may have been a change they made back in 2010. We see the boy petting Trico right here. Very nice. I do wonder if the pet button is the same as the hold on button, depending where you are in front of Trico. I don't know, that's just the regular Team Ico made-up language. I think the boy gives only 3 or 4 commands to Trico in this video, different ones. The main one obviously being just Trico's name, Toriko. It's very interesting that you have to jump in order to get Trico to jump. Trico perhaps looks a little apprehensive with these noises he's making. I'm wondering if there's any way that you're directing Trico in the direction that he should jump, or will he just intuitively know? Team Ico was all about realism. Aggro would move in a way that a horse should move. He would not bump into things. So similarly, I think that maybe Trico may instinctively know where you're commanding him to do things because he's probably not an idiot. Trico jumps and spreads his wings. His wings may be a little bigger than we've seen in the past. I'm not entirely sure. I would have to check the footage from each one, but I'm quite sure they are. I don't think they are big enough to lift him into the air. Whether we will be able to fly later on in the game, who knows? Trico is very heavy. A lot of things will probably be destroyed or otherwise damaged when he jumps on them. It's very precarious here. You can't even see the bottom. I'm wondering if you fell, it would be similar to Ico, where you have to watch him fall all the way down, and then you get the game over screen. And he jumps. We get a little slow-mo here. I'm wondering if this happens every time you jump from a far distance. And Trico catches him. Some feathers fly out. Some very nice music coming in. Okay, check this out right here in the background. If that's not a place you can go to in the game, I will be very surprised. There are a lot of little places in this demo that look like places you might be able to go to later. I wonder how early on in the game this is. I think it's pretty early. If you pause right here, you can see very close on the boy, possibly the closest we've ever been to him. You can see his tattoos pretty well. It's funny because the game's new Amazon description says he's an ordinary boy. I highly doubt that. He has these weird tattoos. That's not very ordinary. He's still graphically pretty weird. He looks almost a little cel-shaded. He's always looked that way. And Wander and Ico did not look that way. Now, even right here on the bottom right, you can see what looks like another place that you could possibly go to. This castle is so huge and so vertical. It's pretty amazing. Alright, now we get a look at this very interesting structure across from them. It's on a track. The track has mostly fallen away, so the structure may be quite old. Trico's reaction to it is very interesting. He shies away from it and his eyes glow red. He's clearly very afraid. The structure is definitely one of the most interesting things in this demo. I don't really think it was necessarily made to repel Trico himself and just Trico, because, like I said, the tracks around it have all fallen away. It seems very old, while we would think Trico is quite young. So maybe it was made to ward off a creature like Trico. You may not know that Fumito Ueda has actually heavily hinted in an interview with the PlayStation blog that we will see perhaps an older version of a Trico-like creature, or maybe even just another giant creature in the game. He has hinted that we will see more giant creatures. And that's really cool. Even after calling him a few times, Trico comes closer. He clearly will not proceed any further. He's very scared of this object, and we get a musical cue to show that it's very ominous. I'm really uncertain about the construction of this object. It doesn't look like any other sort of magical object we've seen in the Team Ico games in the past. It almost looks mechanical in its nature. It looks like some sort of satellite that might be emitting some sort of radio wave. Very, very, very strange. It also kind of looks like an eye. Or a dream catcher. Trico's still very scared. It's a very strong kid we got here. Apparently, it takes a bit of pushing, but he gets it done. This is where things get really cool. Get some really, really, really great destruction here. It's so smooth. I was watching this footage sped up while I was editing this video, and wow, when it's sped up, you can really see how smooth it is. It looks really natural, even when it's sped up a lot. At least Trico can move around now. But he's clearly very concerned for the boy's safety. I love the way that these tiles come apart and fall. Look at how good that looks. Trico's in position, and the boy jumps. And he misses. But, of course, you can hang on to the tail. We know that a big element of the game is grabbing and riding on a Trico, just like Wander would grab and ride on a Colossus in Shadow of the Colossus. The entire structure starts falling apart. So Trico jumps again to try to escape. Let me address now something about this demo, is that it may seem a little scripted. There's a lot of destruction in it. And you may think, well, how much control do I really have over this segment when it's happening? Judging from the other Team Ico games, you should have 100% control. It doesn't look like it ever transitions into a cutscene or anything like that. Really, I would think it's probably a segment early on in the game, pretty much just showing us some of the cool destruction, to get us roped in, before some more puzzle solving. Similar to, in Ico, how the bridge broke, and you were almost falling off, but if you held on to Yorda, you could climb back up. That was something that naturally happened, and you never lose control in that segment. It never goes into a cutscene, which is really cool, and that's the kind of cinematic sequences that a Team Ico game can do, while still retaining the player's control. It also reminds me, all of this, a little bit of the fight with the 14th Colossus, where structures were falling down and there were almost no cutscenes. Wander simply had to jump from a pillar when the Colossus crashed into it. He had to jump to another pillar before it fell. I think what they're doing here is they're trying to give you just enough time to realize what you should do before Trico falls. There are some odd pillars in the background that have these little swirly things on top of them. They're probably not important, but they look cool. I wonder if I would have been able to solve this, honestly, if I would have known that you had to roll this log down so Trico could grab onto it. It doesn't seem like the boy is telling him to grab on. Like an animal would, he seems to do it naturally. He jumps up again, and you're safe. You get a very nice swell of music here. The music reminds me a little bit of the scores to the movies American Beauty and Road to Perdition, which were done by the same composer. I'm not saying I think that composer worked on the game, but those were some great scores. Look at that. It's almost as if nothing happened. There we get the new logo game is still called The Last Guardian. That's great. Very nice looking logo. And we fade out. $2016, and I think you can bet that they will not miss that release window. And of course the game is on the PS4 now. Alright, I think I covered everything. I'm really glad I took notes before recording this, because boy would this have been an even bigger mess than it already may be if I had not written stuff down beforehand. I want to thank y'all for watching. Please let me know if you noticed anything else, if you have any other theories or speculation or what. Go on my blog, check it out. I'm on GameFAQs for this game. I'm on Reddit for this game. I'm called Uman in most places, U-A-M-A-N. You can probably find me under that name. And I'm always willing to talk about Team Ico, not just The Last Guardian. Ico, Shadow of the Colossus, both are great. Personally, I like Ico better, but whatever. Anyway, I think that's the end of the video. I can't wait to see more footage of the game, but not too much more, as who knows how long the game will be, and I don't want to spoil too much of it for me. Once again, thanks for watching. I'm Logan, and oh man, The Last Guardian is back. Wow.